All right, so we've got some celebrity drama that we're going to deep dive into today. This involves Diddy's son's a Halloween party. Oh, and Chris Brown making a surprise appearance. I think our listeners will find this pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think this story, even though it's about celebrities, it really touches on themes that I think we can all relate to, like family loyalty
Yeah.
and picking your battles.
Yeah, for sure. So you sent over a podcast discussion and some social media posts about this. Diddy's sons, Quincy, Justin, and Christian got into it with Ray J at a Halloween party. So picture this, everyone's in costume having a good time. And then suddenly there's this huge argument between Diddy's sons and Ray J.
And Ray J, has history with Diddy through Kim Kardashian.
Right. And the details of what went down are still kind of murky. But it sounds like Ray J might have said some things about Diddy that his sons didn't appreciate.
Yeah, and the podcast that you share, they had some really interesting takes on this. It was Lady T and Mr. T-Riffic. Mr. T-Riffic, he acknowledged Diddy's past controversies, but he focused on the son's loyalty. They defend their dad no matter what.
Right, family first.
Yeah, exactly. But Lady T, she brought up a good point. Like, even if you're acting out of loyalty,
Yeah.
was all the drama worth it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because now the headlines are all about the Suns fight instead of, Diddy's legacy or even their own accomplishments.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it really highlights the pressure that celebrity kids face.
Yeah.
They're constantly under a microscope.
Mm.
And then you add social media to the mix, and it just amplifies everything. Lady T mentioned how the internet is just going in on them.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's like they're always trying to balance, sticking up for their family
Hmm.
and building their own reputations. It's tough. But then here's where things get really interesting. Chris Brown gets involved as the peacemaker.
Yeah, that was a curveball. I definitely was not expecting that.
Me neither. The irony is not lost on me.
Right. Mr. Terrific actually saw it as a sign of personal growth for Chris Brown. Like maybe his past experiences made him want to de-escalate the situation.
Yeah, it's a good point. People can change and grow in unexpected ways.
For sure.
It makes you wonder if this could be a turning point for Diddy's sons, too.
Yeah.
They're all talented. Justin with his music, Quincy's acting, Christian's doing fashion and music. Are they letting this drama overshadow their achievements?
That's the big question, isn't it? Mr. Terrific really emphasized that they should be focusing on building their brands and showcasing their talents. He even said, success is the best revenge.
I like that.
It's about letting your accomplishments speak louder than any fight.
And that's a lesson that we can all apply to our own lives.
Oh, absolutely.
We all have limited time and energy. Are we spending it on things that really matter? Or are we getting caught up in battles that distract us from our goals?
Yeah, it's about opportunity cost. Every choice we make has consequences. Some are immediate, and some play out over time.
Mm-hmm.
So choosing to fight one battle might mean missing out on another opportunity.
So then how do we apply this to our own lives? Obviously most of us aren't hanging out with Diddy.
Right. But we all have things we're passionate about, goals we're working towards. So think about, what are the fights worth having in your life? Maybe it's advocating for a cause you believe in, or speaking up for yourself at work, setting boundaries in a relationship.
Those are great examples, but how do we figure out which battles to prioritize? Is there some kind of secret formula?
I wish there was. Unfortunately, there's no one-size-fits-all answer. But here are some helpful questions to ask yourself. First, what's at stake? What could you gain by taking this on? And what could you potentially lose?
Yeah, because you could win the fight, but the cost could end up being more than the benefit.
Exactly. Another important question is, are your actions aligning with your long-term goals and values? If you're constantly getting pulled into conflicts that don't really matter, it might be time to reevaluate your approach.
That makes sense. And I think self-awareness is key here too. Being honest with yourself about what pushes your buttons and what really matters to you in the big picture.
Totally. The more we understand ourselves, the better choices we can make. It's about being intentional and not just reacting.
So it's not about avoiding conflict altogether. Sometimes confrontation is necessary, but it's about choosing your battles wisely.
Exactly. And sometimes choosing not to engage can be just as powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes walking away is the most strategic move you can make.
Wow, this is already so insightful. I never thought a Halloween party drama would lead to such a deep conversation.
Right. It's funny how these random events can make us think about bigger issues.
Okay, well, speaking of bigger issues, let's talk about the public's reaction to this whole thing.
Yeah.
The podcast mentioned how social media just blew up. Some people supporting Diddy's sons, others criticizing them. There's no clear consensus.
Yeah, and that really shows how complex public image is, especially now with social media Everyone's got an opinion, and those opinions can spread so quickly online.
It's what
It really makes you wonder how much weight we should give to public opinion.
That's a tough one. It's natural to care what people think, especially if you're in the public eye like Diddy's sons. But it's exhausting to try and please everyone all the time.
Yeah, can't make everyone happy. It's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
It's good to be aware of what people are saying, but ultimately, your actions should be guided by your own values and what you believe is right.
I love that. Stay true to yourself, even when public opinion is all over the place. Okay, so back to Diddy's sons. Do you think they'll learn from this? Will they use this as motivation to focus on their own paths and rise above the drama?
Hmm, it's hard to say. This has definitely put them in the spotlight, and now they have a choice to make. Will they let this define them? Or will they use it as an opportunity to show their resilience?
Yeah, it's like they're at a crossroads, and the path they choose will have a big impact on their future. And this brings us to the most important takeaway for our listeners. Just like Diddy's sons, you have the power to choose your battles. You have the power to shape your own story. You get to decide the direction of your life.
Absolutely. Don't underestimate the power of your choices. Every decision you make contributes to the bigger picture of your life. So ask yourself, what are you willing to fight for? What are you willing to pour your energy into? And maybe even more importantly, what are you willing to let go of?
That's a powerful thought. Really something to think about.
Yeah, and as you go through life and deal with your own ups and downs, remember that growth can come from unexpected places, like even a messy Halloween party.
So true. You know, before I move on, I want to circle back to Chris Brown as the peacemaker. It's kind of ironic considering his past. But it made me think about conflict resolution in general. Are there strategies that someone like Chris Brown might have used to de-escalate that situation?
That's a great question. We don't know exactly what he did, but there are some common techniques that effective mediators use. One of the most important is active listening, really trying to hear what the other person is saying, acknowledging their feelings, and trying to see things from their perspective.
So not just waiting for your turn to talk, but really trying to understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, exactly. Another important technique is finding common ground. Even when people are arguing, there's usually some shared interest or goal you can focus on. It might be as simple as wanting to avoid more drama, or just wanting to keep the relationship intact.
Right. It's like shifting from I'm right, you're wrong to, okay, how can we move forward from here?
Exactly. And sometimes just changing the tone of the conversation can help. Instead of accusing or blaming, try using I statements to express your own feelings.
Like instead of saying you're being disrespectful, you could say, I feel disrespected when you.
Exactly. It takes practice. But these small communication shifts can make a big difference. And this is something we can all use in our own lives, whether it's with a coworker or family member or friend.
Right. It's like a first aid kit for relationships. So going back to Diddy's sons, I'm curious about what this incident means for their careers long term. We talked about focusing on their talents, but how do they actually shift the narrative after something like this?
Yeah, it's tough. But I think one strategy is to just let their work speak for itself. Keep putting out great music. Book those acting roles. Create amazing fashion lines.
So drown out the noise with their accomplishments.
Exactly. And they can also use their platform to address what happened in a way that shows growth and reflection, maybe even tie it back to some of the lessons we've been talking about.
Right. Turning a negative into a positive.
Exactly.
And they could partner with organizations that focus on conflict resolution or, maybe even youth mentorship.
That's a great idea.
It's about taking ownership and turning this into an opportunity for positive impact.
I love that.
And it reminds me of that idea, success is the best revenge. It's not about getting even, but about channeling your energy into something positive and constructive.
Absolutely. And for Diddy's sons, success could look like so many things. Justin topping the music charts, Quincy landing a leading role in a movie, Christian launching a groundbreaking fashion line.
I love those examples. It's about tangible achievements that really showcase their talents. And it makes me think about defining success for yourself. What does winning look like for you?
That's such an important question. It's so easy to get caught up in comparing yourself to others and chasing after someone else's definition of success. But true fulfillment comes from aligning your actions with your own values.
Right, and sometimes that means walking away from opportunities that don't align with your values, even if they seem appealing on the surface.
Absolutely. It takes courage to say no. Even if it means disappointing people, you're the architect of your own life. You get to choose where you want to go.
This conversation has been so eye-opening. I never thought a celebrity drama would lead to such deep insights.
Me neither. It's amazing what you can learn if you're willing to dig a little deeper.
Okay, well, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. It's like you're holding the pen and writing your own story. You get to choose what goes in each chapter. You decide what you want to focus on, what really matters to you.
That's a great analogy. And it's important to remember that everyone makes mistakes. It's what you do after the mistake that counts. You can either let it define you, or you can learn from it and grow and become a better person.
Right. So let's imagine for a second we're giving advice to Diddy's sons. What would you tell them? Knowing what we know about public image and choosing battles and all that.
Okay, well, first I'd tell them to take a break from social media. It's easy to get sucked into all the negativity and feel like everyone's against you. But remember, the internet isn't always a true reflection of reality.
So tune out the noise. Focus on what you can control.
Exactly. I'd also encourage them to reflect on what happened. Think about what triggered the altercation. Could they have handled it differently? What can they learn from this experience? It's not about dwelling on the past or blaming anyone. It's about using this as an opportunity to grow.
Right, because this one incident doesn't erase all their talent and potential. They can still make a positive impact and use their platform to advocate for positive change.
Absolutely. They could talk about conflict resolution,
Mm.
or the pressures of growing up in the public eye,
Mm.
or even just choosing your battles wisely.
Yeah, turn this into something positive and inspiring.
Exactly.
And that reminds me of something we talked about earlier, the idea that success is the best revenge. It's about channeling your energy into something positive and constructive.
Absolutely.
And, for Diddy's sons, success could look like a lot of different things.
Right.
Like Justin having a hit song, Quincy getting a lead role in a movie, Christian launching a successful fashion line.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about defining success for yourself.
Right.
And for all of you listening, think about what success means to you. What are you passionate about? What are your goals? Don't let anyone else define success for you.
Well said.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this. You have the power to choose your battles. You decide what's worth fighting for and what's better left behind.
And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. Know your worth, set boundaries, and don't be afraid to say no.
I think that's a great note to end on. This has been such a fascinating conversation. We started with a celebrity gossip story and ended up talking about conflict resolution and personal growth.
It's amazing how those things connect.
It just goes to show there are lessons to be learned everywhere, even in the most unexpected places.
That's so true.
Well, that's it for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us. And remember, choose your battles wisely, focus on what truly matters, and don't underestimate the power you have to shape your own story.
Until next time.